G'day, welcome back to Project Brupeg. Last week you saw us get our davits up and working. We were able to lift the dinghy. This week we need to finish it off. We need to add some strengthening at the top of the davit. We also need to weld in some stainless so that we can put our pulleys in the final position. We need to do some Dyneema splicing, and we also need to weld some tags into the dinghy so that we can complete the lifting strop. But before we do all of that, we need to give our preferred metal supplier a call and see if they've got any stainless in stock.
Yeah, g'day.
Yeah, g'day. Seeing if you guys have got any stainless flat bar in stock.
Yeah, mate, yeah, what size you after?
25 by 3 flat bar, could be 304 or 316, whatever you got there.
Yeah, mate, we've got that. What length are you after there?
Oh, cheers. Yeah, probably 4 metres in total would be great.
Yeah, we've got that. Just to head on up, pick some up.
Oh, smashing. Good on you, mate.
Sweet.
See you, bro.
Bye.
Oh, g'day.
G'day. Oh, you're the guy on the phone, eh?
Yeah, I rang about the stainless flat bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so what have you got? Just some flat bar available for us?
Yeah, we got
nice.
what you asked for, yeah.
It's hard to track down sometimes, eh?
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Oh, you got a good stock of supply, really, eh?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. I'll probably come to you more often, I think. Oh, lovely, look at that. Brupeg was a sunken fishing trawler that was stripped out and ready for the scrapyard. She's just completed a 10-year rebuild that's brought her back to life. With the help of volunteers and funded by our Patreons, community and subscribers, she'll be crewed by passionate people from around the world. If you'd like to be involved and support the project, please consider joining us on Patreon or subscribe to the channel. There's a link in the description below. This is where we got to last week. We have our pulleys in the right position, but they're just held together with basically rope. So what we're going to do is get some stainless heavy chain, and we're just going to weld the heavy chain onto the side so that we can connect these guys here where they need to be. We also need to brace it, so we're going to, at the top of the roof up here, we're going to run a flat bar brace coming down on an angle like this. We're actually going to do 2 of them, one coming off over this way, one going off the other side, so we can prevent movement that way and also up and down. Now, a couple of people have said use our big A-frame up the top here, but we can't do that, because if you have a look at where this A-frame is, we could brace down onto each of these davits, but there's no point because they all mount off the same beam. So it's just going to keep trying to twist this beam. So we have to mount it off something other than this beam. That's why we're going with the 100mm by 6mm flat bar that's on the back of the roof up here. Now these gussets, they're always going to be under tension rather than compression, so they don't have to be really thick to resist bending. So we're able to do relatively thin stainless to do that. So the stainless that we're using is 25mm wide, 3mm thick. It's 304. This is what's 25mm 1 inch, and 3mm is 1/8 of an inch for our friends in America that use hieroglyphics. Now that we've got these cut to length, this is not the final shape that we need to cut. This is basically just a template. We want to put these guys up like this. So we're going to do one on either side so that we can deal with side to side movement, and because these are under tension, not compression, as I said earlier, they can be quite thin. So we're able to start marking the shapes we want so that we can weld these in that position. Now this camera, which gives us visibility up in the wheelhouse, has got to go because it's already starting to be blocked by this beam here. It's going to be completely blocked by the gussets. So we're going to move this somewhere else as part of this process, but for now we're just going to get our gussets in place, marked up and cut. Humans need to evolve another set of arms. Trim that end off, and then we should be able to get it to fit properly. When they're done, they're going to be sort of welded in some variation of that theme there.
More boot pictures.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. With the stainless on its mark at the roof end, at that end there, it's cut so that it's able to be welded onto that beam. So let's get the others cut like that. We'll start some welding. The challenge we've got is it's going to be about 25 knots for the next 5 days, so we've got to crack on and get this welding done before the wind really starts to kick in. Jess is doing her best to push the wind away, but the fan is, to be honest, it's probably a bit small for that.
So because of the shape here, the cabin blocks the flow of air, so even though we've got air on the side, the smells and the toxic fumes and everything stay here, so we've just got to make sure we can push it. But the problem right now is it's 9:30 in the morning and the winds are due up at 10, so we've got quite a bit of welding to do before then, so we've got to set to it.
Right, batteries are getting a bit low, so genset's on. Time to get these welded in. I think it's doing the same thing again.
Huh.
Can you take that? I'm just going to fix it again.
Okay.
So right now, I can't get the TIG torch to work. When I press the trigger, it's not working. One thing I absolutely love about Unimig welders is I rang them, and literally you speak to the guy that does the repairs when you phone them. So he told me that inside here, there is a 5-pin plug, and if you pull too hard on the cables, etc. like that, the plug itself can come loose. And that's exactly what happened. I just fixed it before, it came loose, and then we pulled the cables hard again, bloody thing came loose again. So what I'm going to do is pull it apart, and I'm going to hot glue the plug so that it can't move around too much. Unfortunately, to do that, I've got to strip the whole torch down to do that. It's not that hard to do it, but it's good to know what sort of caused it, and therefore how do we fix it. Okay, so that's the little 5-pin plug just there, but there's not quite enough extension on it to be able to plug it in and then push it back down. So to get to it, I actually stripped the handle off. Plug that together. All right, let's get some glue onto that. The issue is this little plug down here, it doesn't hold the cable very well. So that's what I'm going to hot glue. Rather than glue the plug, that means I can never really unplug or plug it easy. If I hot glue that stop down there, it's a wee bit hard to get into, but if I can just nuke it with glue, stop the whole thing from moving, I should be in a better position if this ever happens in the future. I've made a pretty good mess of that. Alright, let's get that back into place. Right, done, look at that. And just to prove we've solved it, press the button, you can hear the gas, and you kind of, there you go, still working even if you haul on it heaps. So, I think we've solved it.
Get it?
Yep, got it. I'm just going to weld the inner part. Okay, that's all welded.
Okay, you ready?
Yep. Yep, thanks.
Got a bit of length now.
Yeah. Next one. Checking. Okay, so it's done. Ready? Welding? Okay, we're on. Just I'll undo that clamp for you. Okay, done. Alright, I'll just get a weld on this.
There?
Yep, perfect. Okay, I'll just get a tack on that. Okay, that's done. Just gonna get a weld on that one.
Yep. I don't think you're going to be able to reach it.
No, I've got a weld there, so it's pretty awkward. Unless we go a bit higher and pull it in and rope it in.
We're trying to figure a way to weld on the bottom of the dinghy. We've got to get some straps on here so we can easily lift. If you think about it, I can hold you.
By
so
the
you
feet?
Yeah, so you can lean over.
If we had the central winch, you could just winch me down by the feet.
Yeah,
into
upside
the
down.
dinghy. Yeah.
We've got a full body harness.
Gravity fed TIG wire. I'm just going to pull it in.
Yep.
Yep, cleared off hard. Yeah, nice. What we need to do, these lifting points were kind of temporary and they don't really work. They work, but they're not what we need, because you can see it's rubbing on the outboard and that's not good. What we need to do is make some lifting points as low in the boat as possible, so down in the bottom corners at the back and then the bottom corners at the front. And the reason why lifting on across two eyes at each end is better, because if you look at this here, because of that V, if the boat starts tipping one way or the other, it means the one that needs more tension on it automatically gets it. It's like a self-leveling feature. Lifted on a single point like that, it can do anything it wants. There's nothing to stop it. There's no self-correction. So that's why we're better off to have the pad eyes welded in. It's relatively easy to reach one side, and then we'll spin it and we'll do the other side. So that's the shape of the little aluminium lifting points that I want to make. Here's 4 of them on some aluminium, so we'll cut these out and we'll get them into the boat. Alright, now that we've got our lifting tags made, I've put the wire wheel onto the grinder, so we need to go and buzz the aluminium. So aluminium can be a pain to weld, particularly if it's old aluminium like this floor. New aluminium like this is fine, but old aluminium is a nightmare. These need to be welded down in there like so we'll be able to get a weld on one side, but we need to clean this area up with the wire wheel so that it starts looking like new aluminium again. Basically, we need to remove that grey oxide layer that sits on the top of the aluminium and any paint and any other rubbish like that. And that's what buffed aluminium comes up like. So stainless wire wheel brush, and you basically churn up that top surface, and this grey that's on top of here is aluminium oxide. It's basically a protective layer, and that's why aluminium doesn't corrode steel rust. It doesn't protect itself with an oxide layer like this. However, when you go to weld, you've got to burst through that oxide layer because that melts at a higher melting point than the aluminium below. So if you don't clean this up, it's almost impossible to weld aluminium. You've got to have it spotless. And the back has been done as well, so it's come up virtually the same. When we go from steel to aluminium, we have to swap electrodes. So the red tip electrodes is what I use for all of our stainless mild steel work, and the white tip electrodes is what I use for our aluminium. When we do weld alloy, we have to get onto AC TIG. So I'll do the smart TIG, we'll spin it down to aluminium. We're going to be doing a fillet joint, 2.4mm electrode. We have 2mm aluminium, but I'm going to put it on 2.5 just so that I can get a bit of burn through at the start. Argon, ready to go. For those not familiar with the difference between DC and AC welding with TIG, AC is mainly a thing you use with aluminium. You can use it with other metals as well, but it's almost exclusively used for aluminium. And the reason why you can't use DC, most TIG welders, especially the cheap ones, are all DC, and it's basically just a straight direct current DC that just comes out and starts squirting your heat onto your metal or your part. With AC, there's a cleaning action, so the electrode is flipping between positive and negative, and I can't remember which one it is, but one of them is cleaning, one of them is heating. One of them's cleaning, one of them's heating. And when I say cleaning, what it's doing is it's burning away any of that oxide layer that I had to try and remove with the grinder. There'll still be a little bit on there because as soon as the aluminium touches the atmosphere, it gets an oxide layer. So that AC allows you to clean off what's left of that oxide layer, and you can physically see it when you're welding. You can see like it almost looks white. It starts to create a little path as to where is clean and where is not. When you start with your welding, you get that cleaning pattern going. You don't put any filler material in until it's clean. Once it's clean, then you can dab your filler material in really well. If you try and do it before then, you just end up with a real mess of a weld. All right, here goes nothing. Let's see if this is going to work. Now, aluminium doesn't like to just tack up, so you can do what's called autogenous welding with stainless and steel, mild steel, where you might have two parts like this, and you just put a bit of heat in the corner and the two of them will fuse together. That's called autogenous welding. Aluminium doesn't do that. You pretty much, almost exclusively, you have to add filler rod into your welds to get them to tack up. This is going to be a challenge. Yeah, we got it. Alright, let's weld on. This is the most awkward welding. That was incredibly uncomfortable, both to watch and to weld. Front one's in, back one's in. Honestly, YouTube, I swear, sometimes I can actually weld good. Today is not that day. To any welders that watch this channel, particularly aluminium welders, I'm deeply, deeply sorry for what you just witnessed. I can only really offer my condolences. I'll do what I can to be a better person in the future, but please don't judge me on past actions. First two, third, fourth, are the ones put in. So see these welds, they kind of, I suppose a non-welder they look okay, but for a welder they're not very good. They're pretty inconsistent, so you can see the actual beads, they're kind of quite lumpy and all over the show. The width is sort of uniform. However, you can see all that black spot sort of going, I'll see if I can get the camera right in. You see there's sort of like black spots and stuff in there. That's contamination. So basically oxides or oils, grease, rubbish basically that shouldn't be in the weld, and it floats to the surface. So an experienced welder will look at that and kind of go, all right, let's get this back in the water. Okay, Jess found the remote for this too, which is pretty awesome. So I've just gone to the chandlery and we've got some shackles to use. These are basically captive pin shackles, so you don't have to tighten them with a spanner or anything like that, or a shackle spanner or anything. You can basically just put the pin through and rotate it. They're pretty awesome for this sort of stuff. We used to use them heaps on rigging and main sheets and halyards and stuff like that. If we were fancy, we would splice the Dyneema.
I thought we were going to. That's tomorrow, isn't it?
That's definitely the plan. I was just thinking it is late in the day and I'm tired and I have 8 brain cells working. This is what I'm creating, is basically a lifting strop that's as low in the boat as I can get it. We've got our new stainless shackles, and then we've got a centralized lifting point to lift from, and then the plan is just to use simple carabiners like that to be able to click it onto that lifting strop and lift it up. We can leave that lifting strop in the boat pretty much all the time. It's not going to be in the way of anything. In the morning, I'm not going to do it now because I'm brain dead, I'm going to splice something like that with a thimble so that we don't wear out our Dyneema on that bend. So there's the back one. That's the geometry of how that works. If we spin around, we have exactly the same at the front here. So this triangle pattern here allows us to keep the dinghy quite stable when it goes up. There we go. And we can tie it up there really high off the water, so waves and so on can't really affect it. That's how high it goes. So fairly substantial. It is 1 Jess off the deck, and that's probably, what would we say, 1 3/4 Jesses off the waterline.
Fair enough.
You're going to have to stand on the water to check that bit.
No probs. Awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we can like lash it, and it won't go anywhere.
Great. Almost there.
We're on the home stretch.
We're a bit of a stormy day. We've got some good winds. Up north in Townsville, they've had a lot of rain and a lot of wind, so we're not complaining, but it's kind of muggy, and when you lean over the side, the wind really gets you. We're quite sheltered here actually, which means that we can finish the dinghy stuff. We need to put the sheath over top of the Dyneema. We had some comments about, is it UV protected or not? Yes, it is UV protected, like this. Where it's exposed to UV, this will be covering it. We also need to do the ends. We need to splice the thimbles, that's this, in to the end of the Dyneema. So then that's what's holding it. It's not being tied by the actual line itself. So we'll get into that, but there's also something kind of cool we need to do, which is this here. This is the camera. Up here you can see, oh, I'm too short. This is the camera that we had at the back that was being blocked. It's still going to be blocked, so we're moving that. We're not sure where placement's going to be. We're thinking actually on the bulkhead here, looking back, because it gives us the biggest sort of arc of what we can see, which would be very cool to see everything coming in. So we can sit in bed, or we can be up in the wheelhouse and we can see what's coming at us, which would be really good. And mainly for reversing this little beast, it's really hard to see what's behind, so that'll make a huge difference. So placement's going to be important. We're going to unsheath that and we'll play around with that, and we'll show you that, and we'll just see what we can figure out.
For those not aware of what these are thimbles. They're designed to stop wear and tear, so a rope will sit in them like that, and then something, shackle, this thing, whatever, will basically hook in like that, and then it wears on the metal on metal, not metal on rope. Basically this stuff here is not very good when there's lots and lots of abrasion, so it'll fail if we just have it tied onto this thing here. So you need to have a thimble in there. But then that leads to the next question of how do you join this end into this one here. And because you can see here, Dyneema is made up of multiple strands, you can basically splice back into itself. So what that means is essentially you'll do a loop, and then this one here will start weaving in and out of this one over here, and it's like knitting. It becomes integral. It's like tying a knot, but without the big dangly knot part. Splicing things like this is a really common thing in boats, but it basically allows you to join a rope in to itself without having a great big ugly knot to deal with. We need to basically get this thimble into that there. So obviously it doesn't fit, the gap's too small or whatever, so I need to open this thimble up, put it on here, and then close the thimble back up again, and then I start the splicing with this on it. So I can't splice this on and then try and fit this in. It just doesn't work that way. So opening these up is pretty simple. I normally just get in there with a set of pliers or something like that and just start
manhandling it nice and gently like that. Okay. It's still quite closed, but we might be able to push it on. So now that we've got that on, we just close that back up again, like so. So it doesn't have to go binding itself right up tight against each other, that's not necessary. Probably needs to be a little bit closer than that though. And with that thimble positioned onto the carabiner, we can start splicing the Dyneema. So we've got like central, but that is quite low, so people are probably going to smack their face on that.
It's not low enough, is it?
No, or we can come back here. Like I can see the corners of the boat for backing up to a wharf, but I can't see if there's a boat behind us. What it used to sort of look out like was sort of like that. So something...
That's better. I mean, at least it's still... Can you go back any bit? Kind of, it's really difficult, isn't it? No.
The further back you go, the more you cut that long distance off. We could go something like
Can you
that.
drop down just a little bit? Just go down a little bit? Yeah. I'm wondering about a compromise, like we build a little bracket and it sits down.
Yeah.
And it's under this, so no one's going to bump
Yeah.
their head, hopefully. What do you think?
It's still like, it's a low thing right in the middle of the working space. Yeah, right. It's that line.
You can see we're quite quiet here, and then
Right on!
Probably
That's a lovely shot. See, look out there. Well, that's kind of cool. I do love how rain flattens off the sea. So we've got our UV protection sheath, we've got the Dyneema, I've got a bit of heat shrink and a welding rod, and I've sort of stuffed it in the back of the heat shrink. And I should, in theory, be able to just feed this down like so. Like that. Pull that out. Right. Sheathed Dyneema. So in order to basically get the sheathing on, we have to put the sheathing on before we do any of the splicing, because once the splice is on, you're never going to get this stuff here in. So we've got the black mark that we put on earlier. We need to feed one end of the Dyneema through our carabiner, find our black mark there, and that is where we're going to do our loop so that we can splice. So when we're finished, it will look like that.
look at this. We have a chance to use this. It's a splicing fit, and it was given to us by Mick and Julie. Thank you so much. Note on the back. This is a gift for the relaunch of Brupeg 2021.
We might have been optimistic about that launch date.
But look at this. It's just gorgeous. Look at this. This was made for us. Isn't that beautiful?
Multiple bits to it.
Yeah. What was it? A strawberry
Jam product by
Riverbell,
Riverbell, South Australia.
South Australia. I'll show you what it looks like. Isn't it gorgeous? So that's what we're using today.
Custom fed.
Thank you so much, Mick and Julie. It's beautiful. The box is recycled Oregon.
The fid and the spinner is Jarrah, so this wood here is Jarrah.
That's that red?
Yeah, the redwood.
Yeah, right.
And the tube is stainless steel winery tube.
Nice.
I'm getting notes of 316 is what I'm smelling.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
too. Yeah, it's lovely. It feels nice in the hand too.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, eh? So we get to finally press this into action with some Dyneema splicing. So we have our carabiner, we have our thimble, and they're all in position. We need to now join this Dyneema together. Dyneema is like, think of it, it's like a 12-strand weave, and the center of it is completely hollow. You can push it together, and the whole lot opens up. So it makes this kind of knitting quite easy. First step. Punch a hole through the weave with our fid, and then put one strand through. What that gives you is basically a nice tight sort of join on that thimble itself. Now we want to plunge back into the Dyneema and work our way right down the center of it, and then we're going to coming in and out of the actual rope at the end. That'll make sense in a second, but basically, and it works like a Chinese finger pull, where when you slide the Dyneema down the center of it, the tighter you pull on this, the more it holds itself. And if you let go, it will come loose, and that's why you do the wiggle at the end of the Dyneema so that it stops that from ever happening. So what we want to do is just basically
push the Dyneema all the way down like so, and you can kind of see it bunching up on that fid like that. We're going to go right down the middle. And it's really easy to push this all the way down the middle because it is like a hollow tube basically. So bring that up here. That's a bit manky. I don't know if that's going to work, but we need a little poker. We poke that all the way down like so. Okay, it's going to bring it out. I'm not sure if I've got the actual cord or if I've got the edge of the... There we go.
Hi, baby.
Okay, now I want to pull that out. Okay, and now we can pull that down like so. So, and what you're left with is basically a very fast way to splice.
Hi, sweetie. Oh, sorry. Banging noises. Hey, gorgeous. I know, they're cool to swing on, aren't they? Perfect size for you. Look at the little tootsies. Tiny little pussycat. Sorry.
Cute. So now, you can pull on that as hard as you want, and that's not going to come loose. But if you take the tension off, this all basically loses its grip on it. So the tighter you pull it, the harder this clamps down. But if you take the tension off, it opens back up again, and it can come loose. So in order to stop that, you then need to take this end and weave it back and forth through this a little bit here, just to make sure that it's not going to come loose basically when it has that tension come off it. I have made a bit of a dog's breakfast of this end. So I'm just going to get the fid again. We're going to push it straight through. Take our Dyneema, put that through there. Take the fid back out. Okay, that's one. Hoik. Let's do another one. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing it through, all the way through the Dyneema, and I'm trying to get, I'm basically having the fid in line with this end here so that I can just stuff it straight back down and in, like so, and then bring the fid back out. Now that we've got that to that stage there, I can just trim that off, or you can tuck this end straight down the center of the Dyneema weave, and it basically blends in and it disappears. But this has kind of turned pretty ratty, so I don't think my chances of getting it down there nicely are gonna happen. So I'm just going to trim that off, and then that UV cover that we slid on earlier can come down over the whole lot, over the joint, over everything. Come right down.
And what, do you sew that there? Because you can't really put a
heat
string over that, can you?
But yeah, Jess is right. Sewing is a like a good way of doing it.
Otherwise, it's just going to kind of fall back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just going to crumple up really. But that's what we're left with in the end. So carabiner, thimble, splice, UV cover, and that should last for donkey's years. Like most things on Brupeg, we have an industrial sewing kit. So a couple of knots at that end, and a couple of knots at that end there, and that just means that's not going to slide up and down as it's going through pulleys and so on. So that first one's done, just finishing off the second one, and then it's time to lift the dinghy up and get these back in place.
All our tools are in there, and in amongst them, you can't have a good sniff.
Caught behind Venetian blinds.
In the engine room, down the back, the genset, we've got a couple of leaks. You see this green stuff happening here, that's antifreeze or anti-corrosive coming out of the pipes. So we need to deal with that. So this has taken quite a while to show up. We've got 260 hours on the genset and it's only just shown up. So basically you can see it's leaking out of that weld there, and then also there's one just up in there that's also leaking. So we need to basically clean these pipes up, get rid of that antifreeze, and then we're going to just give it a little bit of a warm up with the TIG and melt over the pinhole that's obviously there. I've done that on the main engine before and it works quite well as a repair. It lasts basically indefinitely, but that's one of the cool things about having a fluorescent green coloured antifreeze in the system, is it shows you any problems like this if they ever do happen. So yeah, let's crack on, get that repaired. Using brake clean is a great way of cleaning out the rubbish that's in that weld. We can put a mark on it then where we need to buzz over with a TIG welder. Do that on the second one up here. And then we're into it. And once the hole's been fused over using the welder, start the genset back up, get it up to operating temperature. That gets the cooling system up to pressure, so there should be about 5 or 6 psi in this pipe at the moment. Nothing's coming out, so we know we fixed that leak. Success.
Yep.
Dingley.
Job done.
It was very uplifting.
It was. What I love is our triangle.
A-frame thing, yeah.
It's still there for something interesting to go off on that.
As yet unnamed purpose.
We've got the gussets, the braces, so that stopped that wiggle that we were getting. And at some point when we've got the cash, we'll extend it round, and there'll be a point in the middle that's the central point, so we can put a sling there. Or diver.
Might even anti-foul the dinghy.
Ooh.
We could do one half and then turn the boat around. Before we sign off for the week, thanks to everybody that reminded us to drill a couple of drain holes in the bottom of these pipes. See you next week.